Tesmer, 22-year-old Randy Besaw, and 22-year-old Dwayne Hackney. The purpose of this morning's appearance was to inform them of the charges against them. The judge also read them their constitutional rights to have attorneys and to not have to testify in court. Bail was set at $10,000 each for Shelsky, Tesmer, and Besaw, and at $25,000 for Hackney, who's reportedly in violation of probation in Macomb County. Most of Tracy Pearson's family was present in the courtroom for this morning's proceedings. Families of the defendants were also present. The judge set hearing and exam dates for next Monday and Wednesday. All but Hackney are expected to be able to make bail and will be free until the case ends unless they try to flee. Angie?
Okay. What happens next week then?
Well, on Monday there will be some preliminary hearings, some conferences between defense attorneys and prosecution attorneys to see if the case is going to be able to go forward on Wednesday, whether or not all of the preliminary things have been taken care of. There may be some motions filed to delay the hearings. Then on Wednesday they'll have another formal court appearance, that is if the conference turns out that way, a formal court appearance at which they'll begin to hear testimony about what makes the prosecutor believe that these defendants committed this crime, and the judge will rule after that on whether or not they should be bound over on the second-degree murder charge or on some lesser charge, or whether or not the case should be dismissed.
All right, very good. In other news this noon, a 45-year-old Gladwin resident died earlier today when the car he was driving slammed into a tree. Authorities say Jimmy DeLong was traveling west on Secord Dam Road when he lost control of the car and hit the tree. He was pronounced dead at the scene. No one else was injured. A man on the run has an extra set of eyes looking for him this afternoon. Stephen King, suspected of killing 2 Saginaw residents on Halloween with a hammer, is now wanted by the FBI. Saginaw police officials say King might still be in the area, but they want to cover all of their bases.
It's unusual that we've gone 2 weeks without any hint of where this guy is or any information. With the exception of a few telephone calls, it really hasn't been anything substantial. So our next step is to possibly go out of state and see if he has left the area.
And police say a substantial reward just for King's arrest has been offered by various law enforcement agencies. Hundreds of people are on the Capitol steps today in Lansing trying to get lawmakers' ears. They want more money for the homeless, and they say it would only take 1 cent. Jay Brando is joining us from Lansing to explain that. Jay?
Well, Angela, right now, here on the steps of the Capitol, the rally is just now getting underway. 1 cent for housing is the banner. The crowd is starting to gather, and the lawmakers can hear the music, folk songs being sung. What the plan is right now, 1/100th of every tax dollar goes to state funding for housing, which only amounts to $2 to $3 million. What the plan is if they can get a penny on every tax dollar for the state, that would increase revenues up to about $140 million, which the proponents here for the homeless, the housing proponents, say would alleviate many problems for the homeless and also help to rehab housing. The plan is to take the message to the legislature to deal with this, to allow 1 penny for every tax dollar. We are going to be following these homeless proponents, the folks that want 1 cent for housing, and have a full report for you later on tonight on News 5 at 6.
All right, Jay, maybe you can tell us how that 1 cent would help our cities in Flint and Saginaw.
Well, homes, Angela, that are now falling apart, deteriorating, some of the older homes, state dollars would come in for rehab programs to put those deteriorating homes back together, save the houses so they don't just simply fall apart and become an eyesore, and also bring down the property values in the different cities like Flint, Saginaw, and Bay City, actually all across the state.
All right, very good. Well, members of Congress are paying a visit to the White House at this hour to talk with the president about the Persian Gulf policy. The president's agenda includes trying to ease congressional concerns about the American military buildup in the Middle East. Some leading Republicans are urging Bush to call a special session of Congress so lawmakers can vote on a U.S. policy in the Gulf. A White House spokesman says that's not necessary because the nation is not at war. Meanwhile, the Persian Gulf crisis apparently is having a mixed effect on the U.S. economy. The Commerce Department says retail sales rose 0.1% in October, but that modest gain was due mostly to higher prices at the gas pump. Excluding the gasoline impact, retail sales were actually down 0.1%. And just ahead on News 5 at noon, Dr. Bob Rosenbaum makes his weekly house call here, and talk about the causes for communication breakdown in our next life planning report. And Dick Fabian is here with a good-looking forecast.
Yeah, isn't Michigan great? One day you're scraping the ice off the windshield of the car. A couple of days later, you're ready to lay out in the sun. It's a return of Indian summer when we come back.
Law offices of Lee Steinberg want you to know that Michigan law allows you to recover money damages if an owner of a home or business fails to maintain safe sidewalks, streets, aisleways, floors, driveways, parking lots, and construction areas. Call attorney Lee Steinberg, 1-800-589-1000 for free phone advice on how to obtain the money damages under the law for all personal injuries. Lee Steinberg, 1-800-589-1000.
This week at Giant, you'll find everything you need on hand for the Thanksgiving holiday, like Puffs facial tissue, just 79 cents for 175-count Puffs, or 75 and 108-count Puffs Plus. Puffs, soft tissue at a sensible price at Giant. You'll find Giant savings on White Cloud bath tissue, too, just 99 cents a 4-pack with coupon. White or pretty pastels. White Cloud, soft, thick, delicately scented, and only 99 cents at Giant.
Dick Fabian's forecast is certified by the National Weather Association.
When you see our new Kmart sign outside, you'll know there's been a big change inside.
I like that new logo.
The new Kmarts have wider aisles, new lighting, and new displays of the best brand names, faster checkouts, and a new attitude toward service.
I think that's great. How are you?
We understand you want to feel good about where you
What
shop.
about cosmetics? And I promise you, you're going to love your new Kmart. Are you ready for the big opening?
Definitely.
Let's make it happen.
The Curtis Mathis Fall Festival of Values will put you into a big screen TV for less than you'd expect. Choose from a Curtis Mathis 52-inch screen with Dolby surround sound, picture-in-picture capability, a beautiful solid wood cabinet, full function on-screen display, or this 43-inch big screen TV with stereo, universal remote, and external speaker jacks. Let Curtis Mathis put you into a big screen TV during the Curtis Mathis Fall Festival of Values.
News 5 photographer Tom Knob early this morning got this neat shot of the Milwaukee Bridge. Some traffic moving north from there, and most of that traffic is heading toward their deer camps where the hunters are going to have to start shedding that heavy weather clothing and get ready for some warm weather type hunting. Let's take a look around the area now. 45 for Flint and Owasso, Saginaw 43, Bay City 42, and Midland with 44 degrees. Highs and lows yesterday for Flint and Owasso only 30 for a high, an overnight low of 24. Tri-Cities get up to 39. And an overnight low of 26 degrees. Now, around the area at the moment, humidity is 53%. The wind's coming from the south at 15 miles an hour, and that barometer is holding steady at 30.28 inches. Here's a good sign of warm weather. Yesterday's high in Muskegon, 43, has already been topped by that city at this early hour of the day. They currently have 49 degrees. In the meantime, very cold up in Alpena this morning. That was about 4 or 5 o'clock this morning where they reported 18 degrees. They now have 39. It's 43 degrees in Caseville, 45 down in Detroit. Houghton Lake has 40. And there are clouds up to the north while the rest of the state continues to bask in quite a bit of sunshine. And here is that cloud cover from the satellite look as it moved over the state. This is about 7 hours worth of clouds I've collected for you. And here's where they stand right at the moment as we take a look from the satellite. We've got plenty of clear skies until you get up north, and then it becomes a little bit cloudy to partly cloudy skies. But this whole movement is going eastward. It's not going to drop down, and that's the good news for us. It's going to continue in an easterly direction. Here's a warm front, a nice warm front that's just going to keep us toasty here for the next few days. This high-pressure cell sitting just below us in the Ohio Valley. The winds around that pumping up some very warm air, and it's going to be enjoyed for at least the next couple of days. The only real weather action is off to the far west. They had some warm temperatures yesterday, but this frontal system moved in, and now it's a combination of snow in the higher elevations and also some rain in the lower elevations all the way down into northern California. But beyond that, as you can see, the nation looks pretty good. Here's today's highs in the 50s over most of Michigan. And then look at this, from South Dakota down into Texas, or from Texas up into South Dakota, 70-degree readings. And this is all continuing to filter through a little bit at a time so that tomorrow temperatures should top 60 degrees over all of the lower peninsula. And as you look down further, 70s and 80s throughout the rest of the nation. The only cold areas, again, being out here in the northwest as they're getting ready for another system that we won't have to worry about or even think about until possibly sometime next week. So tomorrow at this time, a beautiful Thursday for the opening day of your deer hunting season. Again, the cloud coverage and the cool air will stay to our north, and temperatures will pump right up into the 60-degree area. Let's take a look at that forecast then for you. Sunny and pleasant today. Winds will be southerly, 10 to 20 miles an hour, so they will be a little bit breezy, and a high of 54 to 58 degrees. Then for this evening, clear skies. The winds will decrease, be nice. A low of 38 to 42, much warmer than it has been. Tomorrow, Indian summer returns under sunshine, a high of 64 to 67 degrees. And then looking ahead to Friday, a little bit cooler, but still very pleasant and well above normal. Partly sunny and a high of 57 to 62 degrees.
It'll be interesting to see if there'll be snow when we go to grandmother's house next week.
I don't think so.
You don't think?
No, I don't think we will.
Wow. Interesting weather. I love it,
Yeah.
though, I have to admit. Well, in the medical world this week, a urinary problem among young women is getting special attention. Dr. Bob tells us about the problem and how it can be treated.
Interstitial cystitis is a devastating and common problem for young women. My guest today is urologist Dr. Phil Seven. Dr. Seven, what is interstitial cystitis?
It's a debilitating condition which the patients cannot escape from. They have low abdominal pain, low back pain, and the frequency need to urinate up to every few minutes in some cases.
Now, this is a very common problem, or it's certainly a common problem of young women. How devastating is it?
They're unable to carry on normal family, normal life. It's impossible to go shopping. They can't go to the movies anymore because they have to get up and urinate so often. It leads to marital discord. It's
all types of issues.
All types of issues. The big thing is that we have no diagnosis, no cause, so we have no cure.
Now, frequently women who have this problem have gone to many doctors, have been treated for urinary tract infection many times, and finally, how is this diagnosis made?
The physician has to be suspicious, has to think of it. Once he does, a cystoscopy can be done, which is an examination, visual examination in the bladder under anesthesia. And at that time, we can find certain changes that are diagnostic of interstitial cystitis.
And what kind of treatment is there for the problem?
There is no cure. The thing we have to do is to help the patient understand it, cope with it, live with it, and try to reduce or diminish their symptoms with medications.
Now, there are support groups that help people with interstitial cystitis.
There is, and anybody that has it or thinks they have it, I suggest they call Sherry Worth at 313-762-8000. And she can inform them or let them know when the next meeting is.
Excellent. So, to sum up, interstitial cystitis is common, affects young women, frequent urinary symptoms, many times treated like urinary tract infection. And that's the key, isn't it? A urinary tract infection that doesn't get better.
That's the key.
And it's not really an infection.
Correct.
At that point in time, you have to see a urologist, have a cystoscopy, a look into the bladder done under anesthesia.
Correct. That's the only way you can really make the diagnosis.
Excellent. Dr. Seven, thank you very much. And for News 5 House Calls, I'm Dr. Bob Rosenbaum.
Still to come, keeping the lines of communication open in our next Life Planning for the 90s report.